Let's go. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. And I'd like you to all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's start off with staff comments, announcements. We have any? Don't fight.
All right, I'm a little wary to get up here after last week, but I had a cough drop. So, Emily Mitchell, Town Clerk. Just a quick announcement about our I Voted sticker design contest. So for anyone who doesn't recall from my update a few weeks back, our office is running a contest where Harwich artists age 5 to 18 can design the more exciting version of the I Voted stickers that we hand out on Election Day. The contest is running through February 27th, so next Friday. I'm here before you tonight to let you know that the Community Center is hosting a dedicated design event tomorrow, February 18th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So kids and families are welcome to stop in. We will have the design entry forms and art supplies available all throughout that 3-hour window. We do need the entry forms to be signed by a parent or legal guardian. So if kids are there with their adults, that would be wonderful so that they can do the design and make their submission all at once. And I'm excited to share that this event is coinciding with the Community Center's Indoor Duck Scavenger Hunt. So that event also kicks off at 9 a.m. I've heard from many years past that folks will be at the Community Center lined up long before 9 a.m. But the scavenger hunt starts at 9 and the sticker design is happening simultaneously. So find a duck, design a sticker, and enjoy vacation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper.
That's my deceased father. Link Cooper, DPW Director.
Our condolences, Link.
15 years ago.
Okay.
I wanted to inform the board that the transfer station is currently under construction for repairing the floor and the floor in the, a number of items. The residential traffic, the residential flow for the municipal solid waste, your garbage, is taken care of. We have extra staff there to assist people to keep the line moving. It's scheduled for 2 weeks. I don't anticipate it'll be a full 2 weeks, but it will be down for next weekend, and we will have it staffed to try to keep things moving. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Crew was great yesterday.
I just have a question. Today, when I went there, you had a front-end loader taking all the trash. Like on the weekends, would that be able to handle it, or?
Gonna have to.
Okay.
We've done this many times before. Sometimes we've got Packer trucks there. We've been able to handle it entirely in-house with front-end loaders and 40-yard roll-offs that we then haul directly to the Yarmouth transfer station.
Yeah, the 40
It goes on a rail.
is probably, yeah, on a busy day, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, Saturday's going to be the make-or-break day.
Yeah.
Not if it snows. Just thought I'd interject.
Thanks for throwing that in,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stick around. We got questions for you later.
Mr. Chair, just one from down this end of the table. I was asked by a resident today if there was a way for our town to announce where the actual road closures and the detours in East Harwich were going to be for the coming week, kind of as an ongoing public service announcement. I reached out to Kevin Considine, our TA and police chief, and he was happy to help and said that he will be putting updates on the Harwich Police Department Facebook page in narrative form every either Thursday or Friday for the upcoming week. But the cautionary aspect of it is it's kind of a real-time and it could change here and there. So just, it might not be a perfect system, but it's going to be better than what we have in place.
I thank you for that, because the previous administration, going back a few years on Phase 2, it was daunting because nobody seemed to know, including the police who were manning the stations. So it would be really refreshing to
Yeah,
have.
Kevin's on it, as well as the rest of the crew, and they were happy to do it.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Any other staff announcements? All right. Going to go on to the weekly briefing, but there's nobody here to brief us unless, unless Jen wants to say something. That's why I brought you up, to
Okay,
show and
yeah,
tell.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right. But I do recognize that the things that we have been talking about, both Phase 3A, Phase 3, its progress, and the Brooks Academy are all still rolling along, so that everybody knows that nobody's dropped the ball. Public comments and announcements. I'm trying to make this longer for Pete, but...
Appreciate that.
Yeah, okay. It isn't working. All right, the consent agenda.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I move we approve the Select Board meeting minute from February 9th, 2026. You want me to take them all?
Is everybody okay with the go all?
I have one edit on the minutes,
Okay,
but I'm happy to,
go ahead and throw it out there right now.
just on the call to order, I think it says it's 5-0. I was not present on the call to order.
I've been quoted in that respect too, in the past. It's okay. Any other changes?
That's all I had.
And keep rolling.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move we vote to accept a gift from the Health Department from the Cape Cod 5 Bank in the amount of $500 to be used for purchasing equipment to support the People's Garden. C, vote to approve the following committee appointments as recommended by the Interview Committee. Excuse me, number 1, Pamela Latimer, Harwich Energy and Climate Action Committee, full member, term to expire June 30th, 2028. Number 2, Timothy Shelby, Golf Committee, full member, term to expire June 30th, 2026. And Laurie Phillips, Treasure Chest Committee, alternate member, term to expire June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Okay, so we're moving second for the consent agenda, all items A, B, and C with the change of the attendance on the minutes. Any further discussion?
The only thing I'll say, Mr. Chair, is those were 3 excellent interviews for the interview committee. All 3 candidates were excited to be part of the town of Harwich in a larger way, so we look forward to getting them on board.
I'm familiar with at least 2 of them, so well put. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, get to the town meeting. Now, recognizing that we did not get all of the warrant articles in until Friday, and it's unrealistic to get any final language on those. Let's see here. We do have the ability, because the capital plan is part of this. I'm going to kick this off by asking something of the board, irrespective of what we ultimately do with the actual request. Mr. McCaskill came in, and he's right, but he only named 2 names because there were only 2 names involved. I would like to get a motion from this board affirming that the sinking fund, insofar as it relates to the 3 properties on Queen Anne Road, is only going to be used for property or escrow accounts to obtain properties, as we had discussed relative to the assessor's office. So if somebody's willing to make that motion, at least we can go on record that that is off limits. We're not going to use that fund for anything but land stuff.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Any discussion?
No, I don't really have a discussion. I guess I'm trying to see how it relates to the agenda, but you're saying it's part of the capital plan in general, so it doesn't remove it from the capital plan.
That's gonna
You're just
be the
saying
next
funding
discussion.
source.
It's a funding
You're just saying the
source.
funding source.
We have to go on record that you can't use that funding for any purpose other than land, though. Because at least it'll affirm that this board is concurring with prior actions that were taken, including promising town meeting that that's what we're going to do when we sold the properties. So often there's a churn on the board and everybody forgets promises made. Or as I classically said years ago, perpetuity isn't as long as it used to be in the government.
No, and the only thing I'll state on that is, I think there's a difference between blindly supporting it and supporting it with the understanding that we would go back to the, and I'm not suggesting we do this, but that we would go back to the folks at town meeting and explain ourselves as opposed to just trying to sneak one under the rug, so to speak. So,
But we're not at that point.
no, agreed, and that's the only reason I'm hesitating on this whatsoever is because until I see the final version of the capital plan, because one of the things I'm going to ask this board to do is send it back to the committee. But, so there's my hesitation of saying definitely not, but.
Noted, but at this
understanding.
point in time,
Yeah.
the promise that we had made without getting other approval from town meeting, which
No, understood.
in the past I've been very supportful of doing. If there's any question about what town meeting meant, go back to town meeting and
Yep.
ask them what they
Correct,
meant.
correct, so.
But in this case, Michael brought that up, and I think it was a fair thought. I wasn't really thinking that we were using that same money, and so we need to send a clear message to the public that we're not. At least now in this capital plan, that's off the table. So, further comments?
I commend the board for staying true to the value of town meeting vote, and as I made the motion, I'm excited to support it.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Okay, it's unanimous. Now, as Mr. Pekarsky said, there was, we've just taken the funding away from one of the capital items, first of all, so, but it nonetheless resides in the plan. And then I understand you have some things that you want to
Yeah,
refer.
so a couple of weeks ago, we had added the two items. One was, and I could probably read, but I'm not going to. So one was the information, I'm sorry, the request related to the dredging, the emergency dredging piece, and the other was for the request from Duncan Berry regarding potential changes in zoning and whatnot and classification. So those items, I'd like to see go back to the capital planning committee for some discussion.
Sure.
Input from them back to us before we just blindly, and I know we've already adopted the plan, but send it back to them for review and come back to us one more time before we finalize our vote on that.
Okay, fair enough, and I'll throw one other thing in the hopper, because it seems to be a binary choice. There was also a request by the planner
And I assume that would be part of the discussion.
for mapping
Right.
for the old zoning, which doesn't seem like it's going to have a lot of legs if we change the zoning.
And again, I assume that would be part of the conversation and debate that the
Yeah.
committee had when they look at the two together.
Well, just make the motion that you want to return it to the
Oh, okay.
Capital outlay.
I thought I had, but yes, a motion to return the capital plan to the capital planning committee.
Second.
Okay. And Martha, you understand what's going on then, so we just, all right, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. There's nothing really changed relative to the budget and receipts or anything.
Nothing material at this time.
And as I said, it would be unfair to actually dive into the articles because we just plowed into the office two different deadlines on Friday. So,
It's up to the board.
excuse me?
It's up to the board if you want to place anything.
Well, I'm up for it if anybody wants to, but I'm anticipating that next week will be a blitzkrieg of accept and adopt motions. So, and I know I did say something about taking off next week, and silly me, I said it before I realized that Bob Sanborn was going to be here for the regional tech school, and he'd be awful lonely if the room were dark and we weren't here. So he's had this on his schedule. We really need to meet. It's not going to be a long meeting. I anticipate that that would be the focus along with placing articles. We need to start doing that. Does anybody have anything that they want to start placing at this point?
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to go through a few to place a few more.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just going to do them by the current temp numbering.
Please.
So I move to place the following articles within the budget category B1, B7, B8, B9, B10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Second.
Okay, so that's to place on the town meeting warrant, and we're eventually going to renumber these things, but as I get it, it's B1, B7, B8, B10, B11, B12, B13, B14, B15, and B16 to be placed.
Correct.
I
Okay.
think B9 you also said?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he
Did he? Okay.
That's the most important one.
That's why I was holding off.
As you didn't call it first.
Notice I didn't say it. Okay. So again, B1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. We all agree-
Seconded it.
We all agreed that those are the numbers? All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. I will note that there was some confusion, and I'm going to clear it up. If anybody heard any rumors to the contrary, CPC was not ready for articles. I had a discussion with Dave Nixon last week. He did have them on the agenda. They were voted, and they were sent in, so there are approved articles. They aren't the exact numbers that they're going to be winding up using, but we can always amend those. They are now there, and they reside as part of the warrant once we place them.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to place the following items under governance, G1 through G9. So that'd be G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G6, G7, G8, and G9.
Okay. All right, so it's moved to place, do I hear a second?
Second.
We move to place under governance G1 through G9. Any further discussion?
Just give me 1 second, Mr. Chair.
Sure thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any comments? Okay. And you can report on one of those later on, when we have that discussion. All right, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of placing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to place items R1, R2, and R3.
Second.
Okay, they have to do with real estate, to place R1, R2, and R3 on the warrant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
That's all I have for now.
Okay, well, that's about a third, so that's good news,
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a question to you,
certainly.
thank you, regarding the petitioned articles. Does this board have the appetite to grant an audience to each petition article prior to town meeting?
Yeah, if we have any questions, because we do get to weigh in. We cannot remove, but we actually can opine in favor of or opposition to by whatever vote we take.
In past years, we always gave the petitioners the opportunity to come in, and I believe the board has the opportunity to take it as a town warrant article if we wanted to.
Yeah, if indeed that's something we want to do.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I get it, just talking about the process, and if we were going to grant an audience to the petitioners.
So, as I understand it, by the deadline, there were 12, and one of them still is pending certification, but
They're all still pending certification.
they all are?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we will. I mean,
Thank you.
but I have to plan the meeting so we don't have a sleepover again. All
All
right.
for me, thank you.
All right. Any further? We can't do anything about the budget yet at this point, because it'll solidify. But I hear you folks, Jay and you went to the Finance Committee. That's terrific, and They promise attendance, that's also good because
Absolutely.
it is something that we have not seen in recent years where we cooperate with each other.
We have to march in the same direction.
Okay, that's good news. All right. So draft town meeting articles we just went through. Harbor fee increases.
Good evening, everyone, again. John Harker, Harbor Master.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
Harwich Select Board notice of public hearing, harbor fee increases. The Harwich Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 17, 2026, no earlier than 6:15 PM during the regularly scheduled meeting. This hearing will be held in the Don B. Griffin Room located at Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, for the purpose of reviewing the proposal to restructure harbor fees. All members of the public having an interest in this topic are cordially invited to attend the public hearing and provide information and testimony relevant to these proposals. Signed, the Harwich Select Board, January 29, 2026.
Motion to open up the public hearing.
So moved.
Moving second and open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. You can run, but you cannot hide. We see you.
Mr. Chair, while he's working on that, is there a herring fisheries customary article that's
Yes.
missing from this?
Is it missing?
Yes.
I thought I saw it.
Did you?
I did too.
Not, okay, if Stephanie says it's there, I trust Stephanie.
C6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but don't be confused, because when we sequencing, our historic preference is it's the last article of town meeting. So
Thank you.
notwithstanding where it is here.
Yep, thank you. Oh, there it is. Yep.
You're on. You can talk about
Just waiting for the presentation to come up, but I guess I'd start again. So good evening, Mr. Chair, good evening, Board. John Harker, Harbor Master. Nice to see you all again and to present to you the harbor increase fee recommendations. I thought it'd be best to start off with a quick summation of our past meetings. So we'll just move into that real quick. All right. So I first presented to you all on the 8th of December with a proposal that mirrored the 2018 and 2021 rate increase kind of cadence and structure. This proposal that I brought forward to you originally on December 8th was a 10% increase across 48 of the 64 fees, and that are within that harbor management plan, that Appendix B that we talked about before. I had discussed the details of those rates and why they were chosen, the applicability or legal adjustments of some but not all that we could do, and the extensive regional fee analysis that the department undertook for several weeks leading up to that meeting. We furthermore looked at those logistical needs and those logistical strains that would happen on the department and the subsequent impacts also to the users and the facility users and waterway users of the town. And at that time, I was also asked to additionally look into a difference or a bifurcation between taxpayer and non-taxpayer rates, but that would only be applicable to the recreational boat user or slip users within our 3 harbors. I returned on the 5th of January with additional data and recommendations and considerations with a few more slides, and determined a near equal revenue adjustment from the blanketed 10% over the ladder process to a revised 5% for taxpayer and a 15% for non-taxpayer unverified leasee. So to accomplish this bifurcated rate system and for consistency and eligibility, the methodology that we would use for the recreational slip leasees would be to bill all leasees with those slips at a 15% non-taxpayer rate until, and then afford them that 10% discount after they afforded us the proper documentation to show them as a qualified taxpayer. And I'll discuss that again in slide 5. So just for reference again, here are the compositions of the harbors, the data we use to determine the taxpayer, non-taxpayer in the top right pie chart is data that we had in our system and also data in the town systems. I would not say that that is completely accurate and precise and that there will be a margin of error. As we discussed before, there's people that have multiple homes, and maybe in the system it only shows their out-of-town home and vice versa. And then we have the occupancy charts on the bottom right, less the recreational, but as you can see in the top left, the occupation composition for the harbor is roughly, or largely, the recreational community. For this analysis, we used, and this is another bar chart in analysis that you've seen before, we used the most common size vessel, being a 30-foot recreational vessel for slips. That was the common one across the region. And we did an analysis looking at taxpayer resident versus non-taxpayer non-resident. And the data shows that the town rates with the average, and for the Harwich rate, we actually used the 5 and the 15%. And as you can see, we're still at or below the average of all other towns in the Cape. And here is that Appendix B. So the 48 out of 64 fees out of there are the highlighted ones. The ones that aren't, for other reasons, we did not look to affect or didn't have the legal authority to do. What I did do and brought forward to you was clear and transparent communication and language as to what qualifies. So on the bottom of the appendix, and in the first asterisk, I blew that up to the right, and that talks about for all recreation boat slips 20 to 50, the annual billing will be at the non-taxpayer rate. And then again, this just goes and explains how our methodology will be in verifying that. So again, if you have any questions, I can go over it, but in short, we bill everyone at 15%. They have to December 1st to come in and prove and give us that evidence that they are a taxpayer, and then we will give them their final bill at that 5%.
When you send the bill out, are you actually sending that statement with it?
At the 15%.
Yeah, that they'll know up front that they need to do an affirmative action then.
Absolutely. And that first year, we're going to put in an additional slip with that verbiage pulled out, so it's not hidden or they're not aware of why this increase is there, and that they have that opportunity to have that eligibility.
Sorry to interrupt.
I also went through and we defined what a taxpayer is, and we embedded that within the harbor management plan already, and we had legal review for that. And if you'd like, I can read the taxpayer definitions. For the purpose of taxpayer eligibility pertaining to the schedule of marine fees in Appendix B, recreational slip lessees must provide proof of real estate property tax bill in the same name that the vessel is registered to, whether the owner is an individual, a trust, a limited liability corporation, or a corporation. So that is in there. There's no question. We can direct people back there and then work them and walk them through having that eligibility found or not.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Language is always in the mind of the reader. So what that means in plain English is if you own your house as an LLC, would that mean that you were required to own the boat in the LLC's name too?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. So,
And again, this isn't the first time we've had similar types of questions and people registering boats.
so I just want the public to understand. I mean, so there's a follow-through with this. I mean, if you were a trustee, but the boat is in your name and your house is in an LLC's name, that's not sufficient.
And the great thing is that we have a very strong relationship with the lessees. They know the administrative staff, they know the harbor master, and they know the deputy, and so I'm sure they'll have no problem calling with questions and coming in and answering questions for them.
Just wanted to clarify for the public.
Absolutely. This just goes back to the original proposal, just showing them side by side again. As we noted before, the revenue difference is very, very minimal. I'll show you on the last slide, but it's the difference in between the revenues for the recreational slips is $1,940 in between the blanketed 10% and then the 5% and 15% difference. In closing, these are the differences. Again, that $1,940. These are the revenue increases for the respective categories, with the total revenue annually increasing to $135,000 to $150,000. I still think that's probably on the lower end, but we'll see how everything shakes out with the first year and the verifications. But for the rest of the scheduled fees, Those are solid, so again, probably on the higher end, $150,000 annually. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Open it up to the public. All right.
Matt Sutphin, Mr. Chair, members of the board. You recall that I stood before you about this last week or the week before, I'm not sure. My question was why, at that time, my question was not, but I put it to you tonight, why was the need for a boat and a truck on the capital plan versus worked into the fee structure and collection activities?
It's neither.
Beg your pardon?
It's not part of this fee structure. It's supported.
No, it's not. That's my question.
No, it is not.
Why, and why is that?
It's a capital purchase, and it's being done. The harbor fees do go into the general fund to purchase certain things, but they in no way satisfy the entire needs of the harbor. John, you want to?
Well, I respect that. But however, there would be anticipation of vehicles and boats being needed in the future. And as such, I would point to the fact we all know that inflation is not 2 or 3%. Inflation is realistically 5 to 7% by the time you finish the day. And yet, the fees don't reflect that. And I wish they would, because then there would be a little bit of wiggle room to spend $300,000 or $400,000 on a boat, or $50,000 on a truck. We would feel like there's some parity. Right now, we feel like it's an outlay. At least I feel it's an outlay. And I would ask you to think about that going forward. Generally, if you have a program, you want to think of it as being all-inclusive. You don't want to say, okay, I have to look at the exceptions. And this is, I believe, a situation where you have voted on the exceptions in the capital plan and not pushed the fee structure adequately. So I ask you to consider that. Thank you.
And I think that briefly we can address this because it's similar to golf. We don't have enough coming in as revenue in any given year to fully fund a capital project. We do have the ability to fund the payments under a bond in a given year, but that's for that. So let's quickly discuss, if you could hold on, if you could quickly discuss, what the harbor management fees go into and what we actually use them for.
Sure. So much like other departments that are kind of general fund revenue, right? That revenue goes to the general fund and is used for general town purposes, right? To fund the budget, to fund,
I understand.
right? So in what you're talking about making each department pay for whatever their outlay is going to be, that's more operating like an enterprise fund, not a department of the town.
Correct.
Right? So it is not Harbor's job to fully raise the revenue to cover all capital outlay. I get your point. Whether or not the fees are sufficient or not is another point, but forcing revenues to match because they should cover their capital outlay is a little bit overly simplifying the way that the process works. There are departments of the town that produce more revenue than they expend, and it's all one town pot. And capital outlay, for that matter, has various funding sources that come from different avenues, not including the general fund operating revenue of the town. So if the issue that you have is with the amount of revenue that we're bringing in, perhaps that can be addressed, but the mechanism through which it's utilized to pay for capital needs is not.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah.
And really the issue is the money coming in. And I think those who are not tied to the Cape 12 months a year, really, it's an elective expense, and they should be paying enough. I guess my question would be, the golf course. I mean, are all the golf carts a separate line item, or are they part of the golf course anticipated expense.
We've had
Mr.
both
Chair, this is
ways.
a point of order here. We're trying to get through a harbor management.
Well, it's,
fee
okay,
schedule.
I'll stand
We can
back.
have this conversation later, for sure.
I'll stand back, but it's that that is my question.
I
is
could
that-
leave you with one promise. And I've said this for the past 2 weeks, there is only one Jen. She has come in and done an amazing job, but there's a lot of things that are loose threads that cannot be addressed in this one budget cycle that she's well aware of and has not gotten to yet. Don't take this as the way we're always going to operate with our fees.
No, I don't mean to sound like an interrogator. I'm just
No,
trying to
we
draw the
brought up
commonality
already-
between how the golf course manages and how the harbor department.
And to close off the discussion, we already brought up how we feel there should be a disparity between residents and non-residents. How much we do that is another discussion, but we were able to at least get someplace with it this year.
Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy to do it later. Let's get through this.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Herb Raphael, Harwich Center. So following up on Matt's comments, I just wanted to point out, without going into the complexities of this, that the inflation rate over the past 5 years, from 2021 to 2025, was 22.2%. So whatever these fees are, they should be adjusted to compensate for that, or to address that. Without doing that, the revenues coming in for whatever purposes they're going to be used are going to be less, relatively speaking, than they were before. So I just want to make that point.
Just one point, these capital purchases don't happen every year. So over time, theoretically, that would be the goal.
Yes.
And the overall expenses we get, like I said, we haven't had the opportunity to do what we really wanted to do this year. We just stuck our toes in the water,
We're starting somewhere.
metaphorically. We haven't been reviewing these every year. We should have, and I'm not sure where it's going to land, but this isn't the end. On the other hand, there are people, just to make a broad statement, that have looked at some of the fees and expenses, and I understand your argument, but there are people on the other side of that argument, and I've been getting phone calls about that, and I'm sure most of the members have, about why did we raise certain things certain ways. We've got to find a landing point that feels equitable to everybody. It has to be related to the plan.
Someone left their glasses here. But
Well, when they get to their car, I'll bet you they'll figure that out.
I'm all for equity. This has to do with the fact that...
That's willing to pay you if you bring his glasses back.
Inflation is something, no one likes inflation. That rates go up, inevitably people are going to get upset. That's what inflation does to people. But that doesn't mean the town should lose money over reduce its income as a result of that, that's all.
Noted. Any other public comments while these two guys barter what the glasses are worth? Is there anyone online who wants to weigh in? All right, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Just want to confirm there's nobody online.
Do I see a hand anywhere? No hands. So it still needs a second. Okay. So moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Deliberation. What say ye? Mark?
John, first of all, I want to compliment you. Some people in the community have worked years to get taxpayers to pay their share, non-taxpayers. So I appreciate you did that. Question about renters. Some people, they've sold their house, they still live here, they have a boat. Have you taken into account what renters could have? Because they live here year-round. Through their rent, they pay taxes. I'd like you don't have to give me an answer right now, but they should be considered for the resident taxpayer rate. So please consider that, because there's a lot of people who may fall under that purview. The second thing is 15% increase on non-taxpayers, 5% on taxpayers. How long do you anticipate the rates that you're putting into effect to last?
Thank you for that. I have been looking at, again, the sequence of over the last couple of years, and not to get things confusing again at the 2% kind of increase kind of structure, if you want to call it that, but I would anticipate this would, if we were going to look comparatively back, this would complement us to 2031, if not earlier.
And this starts in fiscal year '28?
This starts effective tomorrow.
Oh, it does, okay, good.
For the rates that have not been already billed and paid, we're not going to retroactively have people pay for increases when they've already paid their bills in full. But for instance, our mooring applications for 2026 are waiting to be mailed out tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I might point out, despite what you two were just talking about, that it's a policy issue how often we want to look at the fees, and whatever the board decides next year is going to wind up being what we're going to request. If we don't ask you to, then that's one thing. But if we do ask you to review the fees again next year, then it's going to happen.
Understood.
Any other?
I just want to follow up on a question, and really, the chair basically answered the question, because with all the capital projects we have coming up, I have $6 million, the Allen Harbor Jetty, the bulkhead, trucks, boats. I think we will need to take a look at next year, and I look forward to working with the finance director, yourself, and the board here to try and defray as many of these expenses so we don't burden the taxpayers with this and put it on the users. So I think you've done a great job for this year, great with getting it in, but I hope we have a further discussion in view of all the big capital items we have to take some of the burden off the taxpayers and put it on the users. So I hope we could have that discussion once we get some breathing room, and you get some breathing room after the summer. So thank you.
Just remember, we need to look in the mirror because it's on our shoulders what we do next year. Any further discussion from the board? Do I hear a motion to accept the rates as presented?
This was the 15.5?
As he presented tonight is what the hearing was about, so we either have to accept that or not accept it. Or you could modify it, but again, this was the hearing that was posted.
No, agreed. I'll move the harbor master's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so we're moving seconded to approve the harbor master's recommended fee structures and the definitions behind it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, board.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. All right. I'm hearing from a different department in there. Under the heading of always leaving wanting more, just understand that we were the first to close the herring runs, and we are super excited to open them, so you don't have to go through a big sales pitch to get us there. But please, we somehow missed it last year, but I'm pleased that you're here to propose this.
Thank you. Stephanie Radner, Natural Resources Department, and thank you to the Select Board for having me. Just a few slides to go through since you all got TMI about herring in December, so I think we're all at least on the same page for a foundation. And this is also a formal request to have a public hearing at the March 16th, 2026 Select Board meeting to amend the Harwich herring regulation. So submitted with the packet was a draft, but just to revisit, we have one of the largest herring runs in the state and one of the largest herring runs on the Cape, so very productive habitat. We do have local control, so we have the authority to enact these. We also have our Sustainable Fishery Management Plan, which the town received in 2022, which is vetted by the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, which is one of the regional authorities that governs fishery management across the Atlantic coast, multi-state agency. And that was, the plan itself was done with Department of Natural Resources, with Town of Harwich, and the Division of Marine Fisheries, so it's thoroughly vetted. These are the updated numbers, so Brad sent these before he went on vacation. I made sure to get the numbers from him. One of the things that the management plan does suggest, again, the management plan is a lot of guidelines. We don't exactly have to stick to that to the letter, but it does say that we should update the numbers every 3 years. It was from 2022, so these are your 2026 numbers that go through the 2025 season. The gray line is the time series mean. It's just the average of the run counts. The green line is the 10% time series mean, so that is what the management plan would allow us to go up to for harvest. So you could potentially harvest over 50,000 fish. We haven't done this. We've had the management plan for a few years, haven't used it, so what we are proposing is incredibly more conservative draft regulations and management plan than what the SFMP actually would allow the town to do. So allows us to get our feet wet, have a cultural celebration around it, but without fully utilizing the management plan, especially, go back one slide, you can see we're not in our highest years of herring counts. Still probably the envy of a lot of other towns that have herring runs that don't have numbers, but again, a little bit lower for Harwich. So we'd be, instead of 10% of the time series mean, we're at less than 4%, and it would probably be a bit under that as well, since it's unlikely that every permit holder would go to every harvest opportunity, and they call it fishing, not catching, so you're not necessarily catching your limit every harvest opportunity either. So with those conservative estimates, it's still quite low. Maximum 150 permits. It is something, since it is a state resource, it can't be residents only. So what is proposed is very similar to the structure of our shellfish, which is another state resource under local control. So the actual permit pricing and structure is quite similar. They're individual permits, resident, non-resident, different prices. This would be over a few weeks. Johnson's flume only, which is traditionally sort of how it was anyway. It's what the management plan suggests. I know it's a little bit small on this screen, but it's in the draft regulations in the packet as well. It'd be specific dates and a 3-hour window, so it's 7 dates total, and each of those dates has a 3-hour window. It is timed around the tide and would be completely staffed by myself. And then we also have promised staff from the Division of Marine Fisheries, and then we have some volunteer herring wardens as well, and would have some other folks there to educate, and it'd be sort of that cultural educational experience as well to celebrate that for the town of Harwich. No harvest at any other locations. Again, similar fee structure to the shellfish permits. Must have a permit, mandatory reporting, mandatory catch cards as prescribed by the SFMP. We like that suggestion, and then they have a catch card that stays with their fish so that if an environmental police officer, myself, DMF staff can check them. We do have a pretty strict schedule of fines here. It is a privilege were we to open it to harvest, so we might adjust a little bit before the public hearing, but this is what we have for a draft, and we'll be reviewing with town council as well. I think the only other thing is the fun stuff, the cultural celebration part. So that is something I'm excited about, and we've started planning some classes, regardless of harvest or not, just to have some cultural education and celebration around the herring run in the spring. So some family-friendly activities. A couple of those dates, so 2 out of the 7 days fall during school vacation. It's that Sunday, and then that Monday is a holiday. So the tides aren't awesome for that day. It'd be better if they're in the morning, but the tides are what they are, and we wanted to have at least some opportunity for harvest that is very family-friendly during school vacation to accommodate that schedule, and organizing some other events as well. The town has the Health and Environment Fair during one of those weeks as well on a Saturday, and then I know Ed McManus was in front of you all before. Again, not a town-affiliated event, but just love it. Wish I came up with it. The Herring Run, Herring Run, whatever you want to call it, Herring Run Trail Race. But the Herring Run is kind of during that time frame, so we would not be hosting a harvest as to not conflict with that event and allow that to be part of the celebration. Any questions?
Other than to note that for those of us sitting up here who refuse to recognize the 204 as an official name for anything, that's also known as the Cultural Center.
Thank you.
So the plan is to come back for a public hearing in March, and I'm pretty sure that the board is supportful of that thought, because it didn't happen last year, didn't happen the year before, so this is exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. That chart, so, you know, what you were showing, that's the various levels during those years, is that what that was? I'm sorry, I didn't pick up.
Yeah. the
Sorry,
count.
so,
Yeah, the
these are the run counts. We're fortunate to have an electronic counter, which at Johnson's Flume where the actual count would be. So in terms of making a harvest plan, it's very convenient that we have that actual data. Some of the other data, when we have visual counts, if we have, you know, a lot of volunteers one year, fewer volunteers a different year, our amount of error, when you actually look at the graph, the error bars can be pretty big or pretty small depending on that, but the electronic counter data is quite accurate.
Pretty accurate, okay. And so, do we anticipate seeing levels like prior years again? I'm not holding you to it, just wonder if we anticipate it.
We won't know until it
happens.
starts a
So we do
little
the
bit.
census.
Talk to the fish.
Yeah,
Really?
they don't talk back, but, no, it's right. I just, you know, you're saying other towns are envious of our count, but it clearly is on our lower side than
Oh,
what we've
yeah,
seen
for Harwich,
historically.
and yeah, and you can see it's, you know, it's pretty comparable to 2017, and, you know,
Right.
it's kind of gone up and down, so one of the things we look at is sort of whether, when we have a low year, sort of a mid-year, I mean, really every year, I like to look at the heat map on APCC's resources for Cape Wide, just to see if it was, you know, is it a low year overall, or is it a high year overall? Because some of those, the really low lows or the really high highs tend to be across either the Cape or across the state. Sort of, that's the trend. If you really want to get into the biology, some of it has to do with the year class, since they're not coming back till they're like 3 or 4 years old. So if you have a really good run or you have a really low run, and you have, you know, a lot of fish coming out or not a lot of fish coming out, that also affects obviously how many are coming back. And then there's some offshore fisheries management elements that are ongoing as well for bycatch that also affect the fishery.
Gotcha, all right. I appreciate that. No, I look forward to it, and I think there'll be, a lot of folks will be excited about it, so I think it's great news.
Oh, good, thank you very much.
Mark?
Are they still, the factory trawl is still trawling offshore and sucking all these up as they did several years ago to run these counts down?
Yeah, there's, for anyone that's hasn't been maybe following some of the federal management, there's still some management efforts ongoing related to purse seining and efforts like that that are typically targeting sea herring, but have river herring as bycatch. And that's unfortunately out of our control at the municipal level, but is ongoing through the New England Fishery Management Council.
Is that, the picture, is that Wixon Dock, where that big harvest was?
Let me see if I can get back there.
Is that Mark?
Yeah.
I'm in the barrel of Bundle Deer.
I'd have to double check on the
It does look
precise
like that,
location,
just,
but yeah, we actually have a lot of cool historical photos.
I was there
So,
back then.
Yeah, you might be able to.
You're in the background, I can see it right now.
Yeah, but that might, another thing that's come up is for cultural celebration, if we might want to have, you know, a historical talk or something like that. There's a lot of photos and different documentation from Harwich's history that I'm sure we have some experts that would love to speak on. Mark would lead that, obviously.
I just want to say,
He was there.
this is a cultural thing that people, I've lived here 25 years. I wouldn't know what to do. So I really compliment you on this. I've been pushing with Brad to do it for years, so I really compliment you. And I think it's so great kids are involved, because this is a skill will pass through and no one will know what to do in years to come, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't have any pictures. I know when I was a kid in Harwich, we were allowed to go down with a 5-gallon bucket and a dip net, and I remember doing that, but
And I was going to comment on that. So, based on what Pete was saying, we have an actual really good, solid history in this. Sid Ziegler, I want to say it was 2003, we were the first place to close the run. We had a really big, if you'll excuse the pun, run-in with the natural resources in the state. They wanted to come down here and cut the chain and bolt off of the run, to open it up to the public, and we had made the case ultimately that the state adopted, that there was a census problem, and it was going to be a serious problem if we didn't take action really soon. So it's kind of fitting that we're back again to talking about the culture and opening it back up again. And you're right, it's a volatile thing. It goes up, it goes down, but we have to make sure that we treat it with the kind of respect that it deserves.
Yeah, and the state does have, just in case anybody's not aware of the other plans, 4 other approved plans, so when ours was approved, I know there might have been some caution about we don't necessarily want to be first, or there aren't that many plans approved, so there are 4 other plans, and then I have a meeting with another municipality this week that's coming down to look at our information, and I'll look at theirs, because they are also considering the possibility of opening a harvest in their municipality as well.
Well, thank you to you, and thank you to Brad for hanging in there. We're finally getting it. So we'll have the public hearing in March, and hopefully we can pull this plan together and actually have it happen.
Thank you. And if the public has any questions, or board members have any questions, you're welcome to email or call anytime before then as well.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. He'll know. So we're going to talk about the Harwich Elementary Safe Routes to School project. There is, I know you just discussed it before the meeting, there's a certain number of properties that have to have some either temporary easements made or permanent easements in order to put the sidewalks in that the state is projecting to build. So with that, if we have any questions, they're treated differently in terms of monetary value, if you want to describe that to the board.
In conclusion, Mr. Chair, Link Hooper, DPW Director, I'm here this evening recommending that the board executes what is called an order of taking for the Safe Routes to School project. I'll get into the particulars of that. I also have online Craig Sheehan. He is the Mass DOT municipal right-of-way compliance officer, whose job it is to hold my hand through this process and make sure we don't make any mistakes, because this is federally mandated about what needs to happen for this entire process. I actually had the pleasure of working with Craig in 2010 when we reconstructed Route 137, which was a TIP project and required similar takings. That project, I had 102 temporary easements that we were fortunate enough to have donated to the town of Harwich. This project, I'd like to go back and give you a little history on this project. It is going to improve the sidewalks around the elementary school on Main Street, South Street, and Sisson, basically the triangle around the elementary school. It was initiated in 2018 by the elementary school principal at the time. I was invited, along with the town engineer that we had at the time, to the initial meeting. And then it's worked its way through Mass DOT process since. It is a free project to the town, meaning that Mass DOT pays for every aspect except for the right-of-way acquisition. They pay for the engineering, they will bid the project, they will award the project, and oversee its construction. The town of Harwich has an obligation to secure its right-of-way, which is why I'm here this evening. In the order of taking that was prepared by KP Law, the total comes out to $144,450, which I have an existing Chapter 90 project request with Mass DOT, which that is our gas tax money coming back to the town, in order to pay for this free project. The reason all of the plethora of temporary easements are needed is Mass DOT policy is that if they are working up to the right-of-way line, 5 feet past that, they need to secure a temporary easement for, so that workers, when they're installing the guardrail, the sign, whatever apparatus might be installed, they're not trespassing on private property. And that, in a nutshell, is 95% of these. There are some very limited permanent takings. My desire at the very offset of the project was to limit any any permanent easements that were going to be needed. I thought the designer, which was Parr in this instance, did a pretty decent job at that. There's a handful of permanent ones for signs and guardrails. The rest are all temporary construction easements. Once the order of taking, which is essentially paying the people for rental of their property, once the board votes it, it gets recorded by KP Law. That will allow Mass DOT to bid this project, which is anticipated for beginning of March sometime. There's 2 weeks after this hearing, and then it can be recorded. I believe that covers most of the nuts and bolts. The project, they plan on initiating the project. We should see starting when school lets out. They're going to work on South Street. We've not going to allow work on Main Street and Sisson Road during the summer. The roads are just too congested to entertain that whatsoever. So the police chief and I have discussed this with Mass DOT, and we'll allow them on South Street. It'll begin as soon as school lets out, is the anticipated timeline for this. And DOT typically gives their contractors 3 years. I see this as, a 3-season construction at best. I would think this would be done in a year and a half.
I love your optimism, Link, I love it.
Well,
You do realize you've just doomed yourself by saying that.
Well, we've had a pretty good track record. Look at the sidewalk, we've got the Saquatucket sidewalk project. I spent a good part of my day on the phone today on that very project to try to ensure that the utility companies were going to continue in a timely fashion. You can see that Lawrence Lynch is already out there setting piles. DOT gives them 3 years to finish this. We're hoping a year.
I love the optimism. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Be happy to.
You're not going to be allowed to leave until it's done. Here's some motivation. So you have a motion?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt an order of taking, excuse me, in the form presented for the purpose of acquiring by eminent domain interest in land in connection with the Harwich Elementary Safe Routes to School project, and to provide for the recording of said order and plans referenced therein, and further to award damages to those persons whose properties are affected by said taking, in the amount set forth on documents prepared for and on file with the Select Board.
Do I hear a second? Okay, any further discussion on this?
If I could quickly. So, Link, you mentioned one of the other projects, previous projects, you were able to do this with folks granting the easements at no cost, right? These said persons and/or abutters have the ability to forego the funds, is that correct?
I hadn't planned on broaching that subject, but since you asked, Selectman Perkarski, in 2010, I had them 102 easements donated. Not Mass DOT, have to blame the feds on this one. The feds have changed the right-of-way requirements, the acquisition requirements, in that if a resident, a property owner, has a lien on their property or owes a mortgage in any form, the mortgage holder needs to sign off on that donation form. So, in good conscience, if you happen to own your house outright and Selectman Howell does not, how do I treat you differently? So therefore, in this instance, I did not broach donations. I had set out initially to. I was less than happy with Mr. Sheehan, who was, I believe, online, when he informed me that they have on a donation form, they've got a signature line for the lender. And the lender often is not the bank in which people make payments to. So hunting down the lender can be cumbersome at best. I could not picture being at your kitchen table asking for a donation and then saying, oh, by the way, you need to get this signed by your lender. So I did not go down that avenue, which is a first, because we've had pretty good success in town up until this change that the federal government has made not even Mass DOT in this instance.
However, with all that said, the homeowner or the property owner could decline to pursue the funds once made available.
Mr. Sheehan,
If they own the property outright.
if I could defer to Craig Sheehan, he's the expert in this, not me.
And the reason I ask, because you said that once it's approved and the process is there's a process they need to go through to claim the funds.
Okay, so I left that part out. There's 3 certified mailings that are required from me. I have done 2 of them. The second mailing that went out notified them of the value of those easements and had the just compensation report from the appraiser in that, attached to that letter. The next one, which is drafted by KP Law, will advise them how to collect those awards. I am not sure at this point in the process. I'd like to defer to Mr. Sheehan if I could.
Sure.
Thank you, Link. Good evening, Board. Yeah, so the process has gotten much more robust over the years for the eminent domain process. The emphasis is all on the property owner's rights and their right to an appraisal, a review appraisal, and the right to be awarded damages or an award compensated for the use of their property. We go through a pretty lengthy certification and compliance process in order to get to this point. So Link has been great. I appreciate it. Everybody has, so yeah, property owners, as Link had mentioned, do have the right to donate their property or their easement, but to get the lender sign off, you know, a lot of times the lender still is not the mortgage servicer. So you might have, let's say, for example, a mortgage through Wells Fargo, but they're being serviced by some other service agency. So, and that's really hard to track down. So in the interest of time and money, sometimes it's just easier to make an award.
If I may, I certainly was not looking to spend Chapter 90 of DPW funds on a project that I didn't ask for, and I quite frankly inherited. However, I think that we're getting a $3.6 million improvement to our infrastructure for less than 200 grand is good leverage of the taxpayers' money.
I would not agree with the value compared to the expense. However, since you brought up the Chapter 90, I will say that we as a town have much bigger concerns with our roadways that Chapter 90 funds are going to be needed for. Clearly, could we have gone to the town meeting and asked for funds for this? Yes. For $160,000, $180,000, it's better to just move forward and get this thing wrapped up. However, I think we as a board need to look long-term at how we utilize Chapter 90 and what we want to do with it to you know, take care of some of the glaring issues on our roadways. So, and I know Link has some plans in place, but it probably needs to be even a more comprehensive conversation with him and his crew as to what, you know, we are going to look for going forward.
Can't dispute any of that. Jeff, Mark, anything?
Thank you, Link.
Okay, well, there's a motion out there. So, no further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Link.
Okay, the representative of the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund Management Board. I am currently serving on that. I'd love to continue, but it's totally up to the board what they want to do.
Mr. Chair, I move that we reappoint Chair Howell as our representative to the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund Management Board.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. There is a term
For 3 years.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, so the first reading now on the credit card policy. Jen, you're up.
You actually want me to read through?
No, I just want you to reaffirm what the process is in the.
Sorry, just making
It is not Because
word for word, line by line.
I'm a somewhat hostile party for credit cards, any organization I'm in, and that is not what you're actually doing. You're not actually putting it out there that everybody can get a credit card. So just want you to reaffirm what the plan is so that there are controls.
Correct. I think that, we're going from nothing to something, which is very good, and the something, I hope, is pretty good toward a very end result of what we need. But basically, the past practice has been that P cards were issued to departments. In total, I believe it's currently 10 departments have a P card in their department, and they utilize them for a variety of things. And when I came in, I thought, well, why are we allowing them to use it for that? Why are we allowing them to use it for that? Why are they doing this on an account that has their name on it and paying sales tax? Why, there were any number of issues. So it started small, got bigger, kind of decided to just jump in and kind of put a plug in this drain a little bit quickly. So I want to put forth this policy to, one, limit what they're authorized to use the cards for without prior approval, and that's a short list. And anything else would require approval to move forward. As the law dictates, the town accountant should always pre-authorize payments before they go out. P cards have always been a concern that they should not be used to usurp the authority of the town accountant. I think there's a lot of that has happened in past practice. I'd like to close that loop and make sure that anything that is not on that pre-approved list is going through that process, even if they're utilizing a payment structure that is more simplified or more widely accepted. The exception obviously being that the priority and the preference would always be that we work with vendors that will bill the town and we can pay them through a normal warrant process. So again, making it not be oh, this is easier, I'm gonna do this, to there are reasons we need this, but they're limited and should stay limited. So I think broadly, we need to, and we also need to shift to where we're moving away from the department cards and to the department heads actually signing a agreement with the town that they are responsible for this card, they're responsible for the charges on it. If they so choose to allow their staff to use it for purchases, they have to be the one that takes responsibility for what happens on that card, manage it, make sure that it is proper. We need to get away from using it for accounts that are established personally or departmentally, and more for town-centric accounts where we set up proper tax exempt, and if vendors will allow invoicing to do that instead of, obviously there are things that you can't do that for, which is the benefit of P cards. I'll repeat what I've said about 3 or 4 other processes so far since I've been coming before you. This is one of those things that when well managed, they're great. And when they're not, they're not. So I would like to get it to a place where it's well managed and move forward in a better direction than we have been.
And that's the summary I would give, is that this is actually to tighten up the process.
Yeah.
That's the intent of it. As to the language, does anybody have any issue with the language that's in the first reading?
I saw Jeff's hand go up.
You can go, Pete, if you'd like.
No, please.
Okay, thank you.
I'll flip a coin if you like.
No, it's good. I don't mind leading off here. And Jen, thank you for this. And as you just put it, this is going to only be as good as the internal controls. And with you and the incoming town administrator, for me, I feel very comfortable with this being implemented. And I want to make that really clear, that it's about for me, it's about the people who are going to be overseeing it and implementing it and touching it on a daily basis. And with you and Jay, I feel wildly confident and comfortable that we're doing the right thing for the town of Harwich. I did have a question I asked the question last week, and you answered it perfectly. I forgot it, the answer to it. So I'm going to ask it again,
Wait, let me watch the tape, hold on.
No, a little more clarity. So the program administrator and the finance director, I believe you said, are one and the same, but then you said that it may end up being two people. Is that what I heard?
Correct, yeah, because, I mean, it's always good to have more than one. If I'm on vacation, if I get hit by a bus, there has to be someone that's able to, our provider will require certain things to be contacted and changed through them by a program administrator. So if for any reason I am unavailable, for any reason, there needs to be another program administrator. So whether that person be a person who is making day-to-day decisions is another story, perhaps in my absence, but not on a day-to-day basis.
And who do you see in your past? Who is that?
So I want to talk to Jay about it a little bit and nail that down once he and I have some time to hit the ground running here. In my past experience, it's been my treasurer collector because they're a natural choice, I think. But I do want Jay to weigh in on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any changes in text that you're interested in? Okay. Pete?
You lobbying for the second back roll, or?
No way.
No way.
No, if I could, I don't have any recommendation for the changes, for any changes to text. However, and I'd love to hear from my colleagues on the board and also from you, Jen, the forms. There are, what, 2 or 3 forms here? I'd like to see those excluded from the policy,
Yeah.
because we don't want to own those. We want Jen to be able, or her team, to manipulate those forms as needed. And so if there are changes needed in 6 months, we don't want it to come back to us. So I would recommend that once, where it starts with the monthly procurement card reconciliation form, I believe that's the first form, that's, from there down, isn't included in our policy.
That was the intention, by the way.
So the motion is ultimately going to go to a second reading for the policy
Yeah.
only. It's the hierarchical.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm good. I think it's great, and
So-
it's long overdue.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Those were included, kind of give you a visual of what my idea was of the overall process,
Yep, which I
not
did-
intended to be the policy.
And I greatly appreciate it. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's on the same page, so the forms can be utilized by you and your team as needed.
Great.
So to be really clear, I'm looking for a motion to go to a second reading for the policy only.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to go forward with the policy for a second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you for all the
Great.
work.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Control is a big thing for us at this point in our
There's
history.
more coming.
Oh, good. Keep it coming. Okay, so you can be as narrow or as wide as you want, or we can push off some of it to next week. But there is success, so I...
Yeah, and I think I'd like to just speak to what we've prepared for tonight. 2 different directions. The first direction is to announce to the public that there will be a general bylaw amendment on this year's annual town meeting warrant.
Relative to the Housing Trust.
Relative to the Affordable Housing Trust. And I won't get too deep into it, but it speaks to how the trust will be populated in a different way than it is currently, to potentially, or to hopefully, avoid any conflicts in the absence or vacating town administrator, where we would, currently, we lose our chair, and it got to be a little bit complicated. I think this article will clean that up. Do you want to speak to any of that, Mr. Chair, before I move?
Yeah, and what it really does, and it's not restrictive, it's actually better for the trust. As all other committees, each year, they will have the opportunity amongst their own members to select a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk, and as you point out, there is no speed bump, so if somebody actually leaves, the trust itself can reorganize in a manner that they choose.
Right, correct. Thank you. And then Mr. Chair wanted me to give a brief overview of the three projects that the Affordable Housing Trust moved forward with over the last month or so. And I will make it really clear that Brendan Lowney and I have worked very hard, whether you're on the supporting side of the trust approval to allocate money to certain projects, or you're on the non-supporting side. We did an awful lot of work with the motions to make sure that the taxpayers' money was safe through the process by having the recipients of the monies reach certain milestones before any disbursements would be given. We also made it very clear in our motion that the chair would have to authorize all payments to be made. So we will make sure that we have those internal controls, the monies that we have allocated for disbursement. The first one, not in any particular order, because I don't remember how it went, but the West Harwich Square, which is 48 and 52 Route 28, would put 5 units on the SHI list, and the trust funded that in the amount of $500,000. The payout is slated for the years of 2026 and 2026, 2027. Then there's the Penrose project, which will put 60 units on the SHI list, and that was an $800,000 fund, trust funding. But I believe we get back $500,000 at closing, so the net funding was about $300,000. And that payout will most likely occur in 2028. And then the Pine Oaks 4 project, which will put, phase 1, I want to make that clear, which will put 50 units on the SHI list. Payout is slated for sometime in 2028, and that was a $1 million award for $2,875,000 total dollars. Now, just for the public's information, the Penrose project, so the public can understand a little bit better what they got for their money. The Penrose project, with the amount of monies that were awarded for 60 units, comes out to be about $8,333 per unit. That's what it costs the town of Harwich to get a unit on the SHI list with the Penrose project. With the West Harwich Square, which is a private developer, as most of you well know, there were 5 units, and we are looking at $275,000 per unit. That's what that costs. And then the Pine Oaks 4 at 50 units ended up costing about $20,000 per unit. So, you know, I think the trust has a hard job. The trust has a real hard job to determine, you know, who's going to get the funds and how much each applicant will get. And again, whether you're on the supporting side or the non-supporting side of any or all 3 of these projects, the trust did its due diligence. We paid attention, we listened, and we put some significant internal controls into how the funds would be dispersed, therefore protecting taxpayer money. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can answer any questions, I think, I hope. Questions?
Couple. Yes.
Here we go. Should I sit down for this?
You are sitting.
Might as well stand up.
Okay.
Stand up.
I'll do the best I can, Pete.
You said 2.8, something like that, million?
2.875.
What do you have in reserves? What do you have in the bank?
We had, I believe, just shy of 3 million.
Just shy of 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're close.
And the Penrose, how many units did you say on the SHI list?
Penrose gives 60 units. So all the
Yeah.
units in the Penrose project,
Right.
60.
And what was the total contribution? Isn't that 500 to that?
So it's $800,000, but at closing, due to the 99-year lease, they give back $500,000. So we end up paying out $300,000.
And I was trying to figure out the math. And so you said, how much is it per unit then? It's more than 8 grand.
$8,233. That's what I have here.
You got to carry the cost of the land, though.
If you'd like, I can get you the breakdown of that.
No big, I was just doing rough math in my head, and it just seemed like that number doesn't jive, but
Okay. What else?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
I will get you that, because now I'm curious myself.
And in support of what you just said, because I was at the beginning and you're kind of towards the end of this, what is really different, this is the so-called Marceline cow pasture property. It does not cover the entire property. They've got plenty of extra land that they can still deal with in the future. But more importantly, a lot of these projects in other towns give a contribution of the land in order to be able to get the project off the ground to the developer. That's not happening here. We retain ownership of the land. We are leasing it. So the project itself does not own the dirt, which is really good. And second of all, it doesn't age out quickly. It's not going to be like 20 years and Penrose gets to have a market rate apartment building after that. So in both measures, this is the best of all worlds for like a 40B. We have more control, more time, and we own the property, which is an excellent move on our part. I'm glad that the trust carried through on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll just add, if I may, Pine Oaks 4 came to the table with a $2 million ask, and the trust reduced it to a $1 million award.
And again, you have benchmarks.
That's right.
You're not going to dispense it in the beginning and hope that they do whatever it is that they said they were going to do.
That's right.
Mr. Chair?
Mark?
Jeff, just check this. I think when you said West Harwich Square, 5 units for 500,000? And then you said it came out to $275,000 per unit. I don't get the math.
So there's 14 total units in the building, but only 5 are going to be on the shy list.
Okay, and they get 500,000?
So it's 98,214.28.
Okay. And then just a general question. West Harwich Square gets $275,000 per unit. The other ones get $8,000
Yeah.
or $20,000. Why such a big spread?
And that is a really great question. And and I'll try to condense it the best I can. When you're dealing with big development firms, Penrose, whomever Pine Oaks has brought to the table, the more they spend, the more the developer gets to make on the back end. So there's a 20% available to the developer of the total project, okay? John Carey, is a private developer. So there's many factors that go into why his costs per unit are much higher than a bigger developer's cost per unit. I'd be happy to share all that data with you. It would take quite a long time to try to explain it in full, but that was part of multiple meetings that we had, and that was one of the questions I put forward to John Carey is, why are you at $275,000 per unit, but the other 2 developers are much lower? So it is a good question. I don't have all the answers here in front of me. I'd have to refer to my notes for that.
And in fairness, there have been other projects that preceded you. The Fire Association, with the cost per unit was more than that, than the John Carey project. It is all about the development fees, and that's where a lot of the money up front is. It's not about building it, and it's not about operating it. It's the developer fees. Matt, I see you waiting.
Thank you, Matt Sutphin. The Harwich Affordable Housing Trust gets their money from Community Preservation Fund. Has been getting it that way. That committee does not necessarily respond to the sense of the town as a whole. It proffers up the money for the trust. The trust does not inquire about the sense of the town as a whole, as witnessed by all the zoning board meetings about Pine Oaks 4. It basically operates unto itself. So my first question is, why are we giving all these big developers any money? They don't need it. They just look at it as a willful endorsement by the town which in fact it is not. It's a willful endorsement by the Harwich Affordable Trust. It's not an endorsement by all of us. And I think this is problematic. A lot of us aren't getting what we want. I think a lot of us want housing. We just want small satellite operations. We don't want big boxes. And yet, I think the sense of the community is we've been put in a corner by a couple of committees. And I ask you to really dig down deeply on that and see if there's a way to mollify the sense that we've all acquired. And I thank you for that.
And if there could be some message to be sent back, it seemingly looked like it was stalled for about a year and a half, 2 years when I was there after we bought the property. And that was basically the stall point, the operations plan. You had a consultant.
Penrose, you're speaking.
No, not Penrose, for the actual operation of the trust.
Yes.
There was a period of time where we had a consultant, and I was really, for reasons just stated, I'm pretty sure you would have done the same thing, was not real eager to dispense money until I figured out what it was we wanted to be. There was the prospect of rental buy-downs, purchase buy-downs, single houses, small projects, large projects, and there wasn't really a production plan that the trust had. I do know that after I left, that plan came to fruition. I think it was before you got on there, so it's something you may want to have a discussion about. But that's what really governed how the money got dispersed, and that's why initially we're somewhat cautious, because the priorities were kind of unclear. Is it the first person who walks in who wants money, or is it the project that we really want to adopt as a community? So there's some legitimacy to that. On the other hand, when we get to the articles, I think you're going to find out that the adoption of the trust itself, in its first preamble paragraph, says in order for projects to move forward between town meeting appropriations. So any of those, I haven't seen them, but any of those articles that I hear that were floating around out there that discuss going to a town meeting before they can disperse anything is probably going to not be found legal, because the whole purpose of the trust is to be able to spend between town meetings. There's nothing to argue about tonight. I'll let KP Law decide on that, but the whole purpose of the law, as stated in its first paragraph, is in order to be able to do that without appropriations between town meetings. So it's unclear to me that that's going to be found to be legal.
If I could say a few things on this, and
Yeah,
I'll keep
sure.
it brief. And Matt, thank you, and you and I have had some discussion on this, and there is language, and I'll have to go back and read it again, that the mission of the trust is to support the mission of the trust, and not the mission, and not the views of the town as a whole. And that's a catch, it is a catch point. So to Matt's point, which I don't argue with, the trust doesn't respond to the town's wishes. The trust was enacted to create and support affordable housing. The way to most effectively and efficiently do that, and this is not my feeling, this is the sentiment of people who are creating affordable housing. And I remember having this discussion with you, Mr. Chair, early on, I think in one of our early debates, was that you're not going to build your way out of you're not going to get into safe harbor building one home at a time, right? I think you and I had that talk many years ago, and I agree with that. So there is an element of 40B built into the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust, because if it's not going to be a Penrose where we linked together with Penrose and did it together and worked it out, and then Pine Oak's doing it on their own, and John Carey is putting 5 units here, and the firehouse did 3 units. I don't see us achieving our 10%, the shy list, anytime soon if we were to do it one home at a time or with buy-down programs and such. I see Matt's coming back, so.
I wasn't criticizing that.
And I know you weren't, and I don't want you to take it as I thought you were, but I will say this, and I'll finish, and then Matt can come back if the chair so elects. But when you do the math of where we are right now, with everything that we have on the table. We have clearly, as a town, demonstrated that we are moving forward and we take seriously the 10% and the shy list. I would urge this board to do whatever necessary once Jay gets here, and this was going to be one of the first things I was going to bring to the board when Jay shows up, is to figure out a way that we can get ourselves into a safe harbor position as fast as possible. I don't think we have to achieve the number of 10% in units. We are well on our way, and we have a commitment to reaching that 10% in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that should suffice at least for a conversation with the state.
And not only totally agree with you, I totally agree with you. What appeared to be a rant a few weeks ago, I plan on having another series of conversations about this, because one of the problems is we've somewhat lost our way here. We've got people that have taken offline full-time housing, so there's an illusion that we're servicing more people at the affordable level. We're not. But the goal of what we're trying to attempt to do is getting foggier. It's like, are we trying to warehouse a whole ton of people with cheap grace and just build a couple of buildings and walk away from them? And how does that fit in with the context of the town and communities within the town? I really think we need to have a bigger discussion, and it's really being driven by the state and what they are mandating us to aim at. Because quite frankly, if you were trying to do 15 units or 20 units, it would have to be the trust that would fund it, because there's no state money with MHP or the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Conditions. If they go another year, they'll add another letter. But the problem is that it doesn't seem to be aligned with community. I mean, we got 7 villages that have different communities in them, and none of the stuff the large-scale stuff that the state's pushing on everybody aligns with any of those communities.
And I'll say 2 things to that, and I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Chair. And, you know, typically, not all the time, but typically, anything government gets involved with and touches becomes more expensive.
He says as he sits in the government seat.
Well, and that is exactly why I wanted to be in this seat, is to get on this side of potentially controlling costs for our taxpayers. But, you know, you look at education, you look at insurance, you look at healthcare. Whenever the government gets involved, it costs more. The state has clearly proven that with trying to build homes on Cape Cod with stretch codes and the Green Communities Act and so forth and so on. They make it almost prohibitive to build anything that can be affordable.
Except what they want.
Except what they want. The last thing I'll say, and I want to give kudos to Matt and several other residents who have had good correspondence with myself and some other members of the Affordable Housing Trust. The trust now is looking at alternative ways of creating affordable housing, like repurposing and reusing older homes, existing homes, and I think the trust is now having good conversation as to the direction we want to move Harwich in, not the state. We're as I said earlier, we're playing defense. I was the one dissenting vote for the Pine Oaks award of funds. I'm happy it came down from $2 million to $1 million. To Matt's point, I agree with you 100%. It is not the town's, I can't remember the word you used, but support to the state. It is the trust's support to the state. The town spoke clearly about whether or not it wanted to support that project, and it didn't. So I find the language a little unclear, messy. I find the whole process, frankly, overwhelming and disgusting. And that's why I wanted to be on the trust. I wanted to hear a little bit more and learn a little bit more about it and see what we can do about it.
For my part, and this is what I'm planning on as a future. We have to define the problem more closely, because we're getting there right now. Once we do that, we have to come up with some sort of strategic pathway about who it is we're going to. It can't escape everybody's attention that this is a state election year. It might be the best time of all to have this discussion with our state officials, because they seem to feel like the oligarchic plan from above is one size fits all. We better do what they want us to do. We have a moment in time to be able to define the problem and ask for a solution that we feel fits our town, and it's not just everywhere USA.
And Mr. Sear made it very clear when I was asking him questions when he was here, that, as he put it, if you go over the bridge and talk to the constituents over the bridge, everyone has the same problem with 40B. And I said, well, then why aren't we taking a deeper look at it? If the majority of the 362 towns, or whatever it is in the state of Massachusetts, have an issue with 40B, we have to take a broader look.
And it
So-
really needs to start at who it is we're trying to help.
That's right.
And that does not seem to be a well-defined group.
No, it's not. Anyway,
Briefly.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Mr. Chairman. And Jeff, thank you for what you've just said. I agree with you with the, not fully, but I agree with the sense you proffered.
It's good enough for me.
I wish the Affordable Housing Trust would, in its race to get to 10%, the shy list, would recognize that that 4% is a lot of damage to the town, a lot of costs, and they don't necessarily have to be. If we're going to have our hamlets developed as it's proposed in West Harwich, a lot of second stories there can be rental units for employees of the town, others. I mean, the point is there are going to be these satellites that will allow the Affordable Housing Trust to expend funds in a way that's to our general liking. You won't have people in here saying that the Affordable Housing Trust has literally become the de facto architect for the town of Harwich. Between Pine Oaks and Penrose and the salvage yard, they are going to be the architects of the town, and I don't think any of us wants that. It's just that it's happened, and I appreciate the fact that things happen. When you have a plan, it doesn't start off necessarily well. I buy all that, but at this point in time, I think we can all see a lot of damage forthcoming in terms of our quality of life. And I do not say this to exclude people from housing, though I think the call for housing is overblown. Certainly in Hyannis, you hear all about it, but I think people self-servingly tell you it's a crisis, and it's not. It's a matter of poor planning. Thank you.
I see a virtual and a real hand for Richard Waystack, who's at home, and we wish we were too. So, Richard.
You guys ran for those jobs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Richard Waystack, Harwich. At some point, there's got to be a townwide discussion. People don't like what the state is requiring under 40B. If we don't get to safe harbor, then the 40B plans will continue to come to the town. If we don't like 40B, and I've heard it over and over and over again from the last few administrations, they don't like 40B, then bring in your state senator, bring in your state representative, and file legislation to change it. We can complain about it all we want, but be proactive and come up with a program that fits Harwich and fits Cape Cod.
You were online about 5 minutes ago, weren't you? You were online about 5 minutes ago, correct? That's the plan.
Yes, I was.
We're not going to drop this discussion tonight because the real question about this, more than anything else, is who are you trying to help? And once you get that question answered, a lot of things fall into place. And I don't know that the state has definitely changed the real estate beneath us over the last 10 or 15 years. What was being built and what was deemed useful. I mean, you were around for the Harwich CDC. You were around for, to watch Gomes Way get built. I mean, there was some thoughtful planning that went into a lot of these things, and it wasn't designed around, we're just going to be building some big box building and throw people 30% AMI into it and call it a day, partly because there's a disincentive. If you have this really narrow band of really low-income housing, which would help for if you were in Fall River or New Bedford, if you're talking about that as an alternative to living in the street, that's one thing. But what they're doing is they're building a preponderance of one-bedroom housing that has 30 or 40% AMI associated with it, which means area median income, you're talking about people being capped out at about $40,000 and being told, if you make more than that, goodbye, we're going to get some other people that are going to be, I called it a surf class, and I really believe that that's where they're heading, because they're designing these things around really low-income, cheap labor to support something that we didn't ask for. It's not about housing our own community members who are coming out of school and need a hand up to be able to come into the community full-time. You actually create a disincentive, because if you make more, if you got two people working at Stop and Shop full-time, you can blow past that area median income at the low end. There's something wrong with what the state is pushing, and we need to have that discussion to be able to ask for the housing we need, not the housing they want. And
Mr. Chairman,
we'll be having that
mentioning-
discussion.
Thank you for mentioning the Harwich CDC. I was one of the original members of that.
I'm aware.
Delegation. And I want to mention, for those who say we don't have a crisis, my team put a property on the market last week in Harwich Center. It was priced at $499 for a 3-bedroom, total fixer-upper. We had 30 parties view that property in 2 days. It went under contract in 1 day. We were able to get a first-time home buyer into that property. We had to work with the bank. We had to do a couple of waivers for the mortgage to get done. But there are ways to do it. And again, for those who say there's not a crisis, we had, of those 30 parties, probably 20 were first-time home buyers trying to enter the real estate market. We do have a crisis. We have an affordability crisis in this community and other communities across the Cape. I'm a landlord. I just filled a property that we run, my wife and I, a somewhat of own affordable project ourselves. I could have rented my property for approximately $500 more a month, and if I had publicized it or advertised it, I would have had anywhere from 75 to 100 applications for that one unit. So for those who keep saying, I'm not sure we have a crisis, we do. I'm in this business every day, both as a landlord and as a realtor, and I see the need. However, we need to start talking about some different solutions so we can get some of these first-time home buyers, one of which we did last week, a Harwich High School graduate who's getting into their first home in Harwich. So we need to continue the discussion and talk about some alternatives that might fit our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And we all ought to be grateful that BlackRock didn't buy that house instead of the person, because that's another major problem that's going on. All right, we'll move on to the subject. Again, we're going to be bringing this back as a series of discussions, and I appreciate your comments, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, now, there's a Scribner's error in the contract for Colonial Ford. The contract aggregate at $115,347.40 is correct. The unit prices were entered incorrectly, but the total value of the contract is as it is, and the total volume of vehicles we're buying is as it is. And if Chief Considine is here, he can affirm what I just said. You're hiding there in my upper right-hand corner.
Yeah. Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Chief Considine. Appreciate it. Correct, just a Scribner's error. So the total is $115,347.40. And I was before you with our other two cruisers, mentioning that these were coming. These are out of the insurance recovery fund. Unfortunately, two of these cruisers, they're both admin cruisers, administrative cruisers. They were deemed total loss last summer. One, our fault, I will say that, but another one as a result of an alleged intoxicated driver hit one of our admin cruisers. So that's the request tonight. Thank you.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you have the unit price? It was like 50-something thousand per cruiser?
Yes, 57,673.70.
Right, that's what's in there.
No,
That's the unit price.
Oh, you're talking on this? I'm sorry, because I was looking at the packet. The correct price is in the packet.
Yeah, but not on the...
Yeah, it's just
I'm
the
sorry,
agenda was...
You lost me. I'm trying to figure out where the hell the error was when the math.
But it's
So I
not
got you
correct
now.
on the
I
agenda.
got
I'm
you.
just
Thank you.
clarifying that's a Scribner's error on the agenda.
Appreciate that.
So If somebody would like to make a motion,
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a contract with Colonial Ford for the purchase of two 2025 Ford Explorers in the amount of $57,670.
115
Okay, you just want the total amount? Okay.
total amount.
And the total amount of $115,347.40.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to get two cruisers, 2025 Explorers for $115,347.40. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Don't suppose you really wanted to opine as the town administrator, Kevin?
Police chief tonight, sir.
That's what I thought. Thanks, chief. Let me know if you find the town administrator somewhere. So we're going to go past the town administrator's report and straight into the select board members' report. Pete?
Nothing.
Anita?
I just wanted to let everyone know that I had the honor of driving around our new town administrator. I drove him all around town, showed him all the highlights of our wonderful town. I spent about 2 hours with him, showed him all the beaches, and the only place I did not go was into East Harwich, where they've got all the construction on the sewer projects going on.
You'll get there eventually.
He'll get there eventually, but visited all the harbors, and hopefully I hopefully gave him a good overview of and some history. So I gave him some nice history of our town, too.
Mark?
Sure. Attended the school committee meeting last week. I've asked the chair to distribute to the rest of the board. It was kind of a presentation by the superintendent, the history of the regionalization. He made some pretty good points, so I would recommend that the rest of the board read what he put out there. It's kind of a add-on to what was submitted by the select board and the finance committee to the select board from Chatham.
And I've turned over that same package to Ms. Mintz and, to get her take on where we're at right now. Jeff?
I have nothing to add other than a question for Jen. Is this for ours to take now?
Yep, those are
Thank
updated.
Is it $20 deposit?
I already gave it to her.
And I was at the ceremony for the fire department. It's always wonderful to be there. Emily swore in a couple of people who were probationary. There was a celebration of the rescue that was made in the summertime, and there were some service awards. It's tremendous that we observe and pat ourselves on the back, but more importantly, Mr. McGraw was there to celebrate with us and hand out the diplomas along with the town clerk swearing in people. So it was just a wonderful time. I'll take a motion to adjourn so that Jen can get out of here by 8.
So moved.
And the other Jen, too. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.